they're not as far away from where they want to be as they think. Their perspective really needs to change. So a lot of people just immediately when I got PTSD, I got all this trauma. Most times it's a perspective shift. When you leave the witnesses, you still see the world through the lens of a witness, whether you know it or not, because the programming on the subconscious level is deep. So we address that. So I do a lot of one-on-one coaching. I have courses. I have something called the JWD Programming Boot Camp. That's a 21 lesson course that goes through all the different things that you face coming out of the religion and gives solutions for it so that you can um, release it
Mhm.
and you can move to your greatest self. So shine your light. Remember, darkness cannot put out light. Light puts out darkness. But when we stay in the vibration, when we stay in anger, the witnesses are very low frequency, low vibration religion. When we stay in anger, we stay right with it. Anybody that knows what I do is I don't even really talk bad about the witnesses. I just help people move forward. Just keep moving. Keep being the best you.
I'm changing my life and I won't look back ever again.
Hi, Rodney. Thanks for coming on. You are doing some really important work that I wanted to get the word out to people. But maybe first we could start by talking about how you became a witness.
Well, I was born into it. My parents became witnesses about the time I was born. So I'm the youngest of four. So it's all I knew growing up. That was my life.
Yeah.
I got out of you.
Yeah. What was you? Were you second, third generation?
No, my parents came in about the time I was born. So my dad moved to Hawaii in the Air Force and got out there. And come to find out, my grandmother actually was a witness. My mother didn't even know it. My grandmother studied and used to go to meetings way back in the day in Tuskegee, Alabama. But it was
Oh,
not
wow.
either of my parents' life. I have a lot of relatives on both sides of my family that are witnesses, and funny thing, it has nothing to do with each other. Just randomly, I have a lot of witnesses on both sides of my family, and neither one, neither one of my parents grew up that way. Just kind of happened that way.
Okay. Wow. So, what did it look like? What did your childhood look like being a witness?
Typical. I wouldn't say it was bad because it's all I knew, and my dad was an elder, my mom was a pioneer, and we were kind of. I was kind of the golden child. We were the family always on the assemblies, and again, when you got nothing to compare it to, it was fine. I mean, the community of people, and I graduated with like seven other witnesses, and we had a lot of young people that were witnesses. So I can't say it was a bad childhood. I mean, there were things I couldn't do that typically sports and the different things I wanted to do, but at the same time, we had things that we did that other people didn't do. Going camping with 12, 13 families. That wasn't everybody's norm. So it's not something that um, I felt was a bad thing growing up, even though there were things I couldn't do. It was,
Yeah,
it, it was the reality I knew. I didn't know anything else.
that's true. Yeah, yeah. So then you end up getting married. How old were you when you got married?
So I was almost 23. My ex-wife was 2 days 18. She turned 18 on Thursday. We got married on Saturday. Uh,
Wow.
400 people at the wedding. Not a soul questioned us. Like, she's just 18, dude. She's just 18. No one said anything. It's so normal in that world, to get married so young. So yeah, I got married young. I was living on Oahu in Hawaii. Then we moved to Maui, started a business, and um, became very successful in that business. Employed a lot of witnesses. I think I had like 19 witnesses working for me at one time.
Wow.
Up having two children 10 years apart. We were married for 18 years, but I was about 30 when I started to really wake up and question things. I think when everything's kind of going your way in life, you're afraid to question
Yeah.
because worked so hard to build this business and things are going well and life was good. I mean, I was a witness, but I was living the American dream at the same time. You know, I didn't want to question anything, but after a while, being in personal development, because I was in business, I read a lot of books and I'd go to a lot of seminars. And as I was growing, I started to see a lot of discrepancies.
Mm, like what?
Well, I was 25 years old. I remember I was flying from Hawaii to Dallas, Texas for a work trip. And this was 1993, 1993. And I used to stay up late at night, and this was when Tony Robbins used to be on TV on his infomercials. This was
Oh, yeah.
before he was really famous. Like I just knew him from the infomercials, and he would be on his infomercials, and everything he said, I go, "Ah, that makes sense, or that's kind of how I think in my private thoughts. This guy totally makes sense. I didn't know who he was. He wasn't real famous yet, but I remember going into the bookstore, and there was a book, and he was on the cover. It was called "Awaken the Giant Within." And I'm like, that's the guy on the infomercial. And I bought the book and I felt kind of guilty because, especially back then, we weren't supposed to read all this other stuff, right? So,
Yeah.
book, and I couldn't put it down on the flight. I mean, I just read it from cover to cover. I got to my conference, I run back to my room, and every waking moment, I was just enamored by what I was reading in that book. And it really turned me on to personal development. And I started really just eating every book I could get my hands on because I really feel that when something is a truth within you, when you hear something that resonates with what's already in you, it you can't deny it. You go, that's
Yeah.
my truth.
Yeah. So what did it look like for you? Did you share these thoughts with your wife at the time?
Sometimes it would turn into World War III. Most times when I did,
Oh,
um,
no.
but she kind of got turned on to some of it too. She went to a few seminars and she started reading some books again because we had these businesses. We started a second business at the same time. Because we had these businesses, some of the stuff in the books is really applicable to her job in the business, right? So she got kind of turned on to it too. And she started going down that path somewhat. And then I think she got scared.
Mm.
So one day we were driving, we had a job in Hana. You ever been to Hana, Maui?
Yes, yes.
Long, long drive, right?
Yeah,
So
beautiful.
it's about a 3 hour drive. It's a beautiful drive, and we had some work down there, so we were going to stay the weekend. And she didn't say anything for like an hour, hour and a half of the drive, just quiet. She didn't say anything. Then she says, Rodney, I feel like I have to choose between you and Jehovah. Because we had gotten kind of weak at the time. She wasn't really going out in service. We were really doing well in our business. Probably the best time of our marriage. We were married 18 years. Probably the best time was that time when we both got kind of weak in the faith, and it scared her. Going down that road, kind of, if I keep going, it'd be the point of no return. It scared her, and she kind of backed up and kind of shut herself off in that way. And our marriage really went downhill after that. But
Mm,
uh, yeah, that was the journey, right? Just learning. Learning is not a good thing for the witnesses. It's supposed to keep your mind small. You're supposed to not grow.
that's right.
You cannot grow without questions.
That's
Questions
right. Yeah.
is what helps you grow. So I asked a lot of questions. I wanted to know how the mind worked. I wanted to know the conscious, the subconscious, the super subconscious. How's all this work? And when you learn about it, you start to go, this is all programming.
Yes.
I started to understand, I see why this is so repetitive. Well, I see why they do this and do that. I started to see through it. And I started to see that, we're all just kind of, we're all, I wouldn't want to use the word victims, but we're all subject to our programming. You're not going to go to the Middle East and tell somebody from Afghanistan that Allah's not real. You're not.
Yeah.
You're not going to tell them the Quran is not the word of God. You're not. they're programmed with that thought, and you're not going to change it. They're willing to die for it.
That's right.
So I started to understand that everybody, no matter what you believe, you're just the subject of your programming. And when I started to understand that the mind gets programmed at a very young age, the way you see the world at 8 years old is typically how you see it for the rest of your life. Because up to that time, you do not have the ability to question. You don't have the ability to um, critical thinking is not there yet. So whatever authorities figures tell you is true. That's why kids believe in Santa Claus, Tooth Fairy, all that stuff to about 8 or 9 years old, because it's just embedded thoughts. And when you're a witness, you get so deeply programmed at those young ages, and that's why they have you get baptized so young too, because it's all just programming. It's repetitiveness. It's programming. So when I started to see through it, I could just see a lot of techniques and tactics they use. And the people
Mhm.
that use it don't even know they're using it. Elders don't know what they're doing. They're just taught to do these things, but they don't know what they're doing. They're
That's
just
true.
tools being used to push the agenda. That's all.
Yes. Yeah. Crazy. So, how did you make your exit?
Well, what really woke me up is at the time my father-in-law used to work for me, and we'd spend a lot of time together, and he was waking up too at the same time.
Oh, wow.
So we would have these discussions. I couldn't talk to my wife, but I could talk to her dad. We would be working, and I don't forget what year it was, but it was in the '90s, and this was before they changed the whole meaning of a generation thing.
Oh, yeah.
And my father-in-law goes, Rodney, this whole generation thing is crap. And we were talking about it. He goes, man, God, the year 2000 is right around the corner. If they don't change that crap, that religion's done. He goes, it makes no sense. This world is not ending. And we would get into these discussions about that not being true. And then they changed the meaning of a generation slightly after these
That
conversations.
conversation.
And we were just looking at it. We got to work like, really? Like, that was it. Like for me, that was it. I remember going to the meeting on a Thursday night, and people were just all excited. Like, did you hear the new light? Oh my God! I'm like, do you guys get it? They have to change that.
Yeah, I have no choice.
These people are almost all dead, right? They have to change it, or this religion's going away. What don't you get, right? And I was like, you guys are so insanely programmed. Like, what are you not seeing? And that was it. I mean, the last time I knocked on a door, I went out in service was 1997.
Oh, wow.
It's a long time ago. And I dropped down to going to like Sunday meetings. I would only go to Sundays because to keep my wife happy. That's all I could take.
Mhm.
I would go to Sundays, and then I couldn't even take that. So I did that for a few years, and in 2003, I was just done. I just couldn't go anymore. And I mean, it made my ears want to bleed.
Yeah.
I remember telling my wife that I wanted to separate on a Monday or a Tuesday. I forget. It was a Monday or Tuesday. I'm just done. This is not working. I just felt like I felt a calling. I could feel where life was trying to take me, and she had dropped out of doing the things with me.
Yeah.
Uh, it Home became just unbearable. I was feeling like an enemy in my own home, because I wasn't
Mm.
going. And I told her this on a Monday or Tuesday. Friday, she tells me she's pregnant.
Oh my
Separate.
gosh.
I told her I want to separate on a Monday or Tuesday. Friday, she's pregnant.
Bad timing.
And, we weren't. Listen, we would roll over on other sides of the bed at this point, right? She stopped taking any kind of birth control because nothing was happening. But one randy night, so I stayed another 5 years
Wow.
because I couldn't leave a pregnant woman. I had so much guilt if I were to leave, and those were some hard times
Wow.
because I checked out. To have been raised a witness and to be a witness all that time, you know how far checked out you have to be to say that?
Yeah.
Because was so wrong in my world. But for me to get to that point where I could say, this isn't working, I'm willing to walk away from my whole life. My business, I had 19 witnesses working for me, and I'm walking away from all of it.
Mm,
You're checked out.
yeah.
And those 5 years, I was checked out. I was just doing my duties.
Yeah.
And I remember the last assembly, every now and then I would go to an assembly just to keep peace.
Yeah.
The last assembly I went to, I couldn't take it. I sat there. I could see the tools of manipulation. I could see them misapplying things. Everything was so clear to me. I couldn't take it. I had to go outside. I said, I got to go outside. And I would find these sisters who had babies and babies like me. And I would say, I got your baby. Go on in. Finding reasons, baby after baby. I'm pushing strollers. I'm holding babies. Just stay outside because I can't stand it. My ears want to bleed. I want to scream. That's not true. I know what you're doing.
Yeah,
No,
and once you wake up and you see it, becomes repulsive to
right,
hear it.
right, right. And I could just watch my life go off the rails because when you're not living in truth, if your life is not based in a foundation of truth, which mine wasn't, and I've been lying to myself for years, you start going off the rails. You know, I was playing a role at home. My real self was away from home. So I'd find reasons to be gone. I I I I, I was living my own kind of double life.
Okay, Rodney, we had a few technical difficulties, but we're back online. So sorry about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure where we glitched out, but I was talking about how checked out you have to be to say to your witness wife that you want to end it because it's just not okay in that faith, and how dishonest my life had become.
Mm.
Because looking back, I was always lying to myself about being a witness. From the time I was a kid, just didn't know it. And a lot of times in that religion, you get so disconnected from yourself, you think this is your truth, and it's not. You're actually betraying yourself. So when I got to know that I was betraying myself and I was just playing a role, which I'd been doing for many years at that point, I just kind of started going off the rails, having a double life of sorts. Because again, if I'm not going to meetings and my witness friends aren't inviting me anywhere, and I really am not accepted in that world because I'm inactive, then I start finding friends outside of that organization that were okay with my wife. So it's kind of like I started developing this secret life. I had a whole slew of people that I knew that I did things with under the guise of work because I own my own business, but I'm at the bar at 1.
uh,
And it's just a mess because it's just going off the rails. It just doesn't work. I mean, you're lying to yourself. When you lie to yourself, when you are playing a role, it doesn't work. I would come home and just not want to fight. So I'm going to tell you whatever you want to hear just to keep peace.
mhm.
And my life just started to erode more and more and more to a point where I was just like, this just can't work. And I remember having marriage counseling. And my marriage counselor said this. I had a couple sessions, just me and him. Normally we're together, but we had some just me and him. He really got me. We would have totally different conversations when it was just me and him. He even tiptoed around my wife because he knew that if he said the wrong thing, she'd check out,
Oh,
right?
wow.
But we'd have honest conversations. And he said, Rodney, you're like a loose hot wire. So what do you mean by that? He says, you're so checked out of your marriage, and there's a part of you that is so unfulfilled in your marriage that if you meet the right woman who listens to you, who understands you, who validates you, you will wreck everything because you'll feel like a tall glass of water to a man walking in the desert. And I said, he is absolutely right.
Yes. Yes.
This marriage is going to end either by choice or I'm going to do something subconsciously to wreck it.
Right.
I can't stand here. I can't stay here no more. So I decided to end it. And it was hard because I knew my whole life was going to go upside down. My wife was my business partner. I had all these people in my office and in the field that worked for me. And I knew they would turn. I knew it was not sustainable. Um, and again, the way we ran our business, she did the whole office thing. I handled the guys in the field, right?
Mhm.
And I didn't know how to do all that stuff. Back then, I was computer illiterate. I didn't touch computers. They did all of that. I had an assistant. I had people that did all that stuff. So, as bad as I thought it was going to be, it was worse.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh,
Because I got divorced in 2008. The economy was bad. It was just the worst time. And it was horrible. It was a complete implosion. I had like 4 cars repossessed.
oh, no.
Was living in this big house in Maui on the hill, and I'm sleeping on my mom's couch at one point. I'm a couple $100,000 in debt. It was just like my phone rang every 5 minutes from bill collectors.
Oh,
Every 5 minutes, all day long. This is like 2010 or something like that. I was in the bank recently where someone had the same ringtone that I had back then, and I jumped.
it was triggering.
Talk about PTSD. I jumped. I literally jumped. So yeah, it was a tough time of life. But looking back, I don't regret anything. I mean, when you get through things, the better version of you emerges on the other side. Sometimes the universe has a way of just flushing out the things that don't belong in your life anymore. So you can welcome the new because my whole life was built on a bad foundation. As good an exterior life I had, it was built on a bad foundation, and that has to come down at some point. And I think, like for me at the time, I turned 40, and I knew this wasn't going to be forever. It would implode, but am I going to wait till my daughter becomes 18, which is just a couple of years ago, to start building my life?
Right.
You know what I mean? I was 40. I'm like, I'm young enough to rebuild. Let me do it now. Let it implode now. I can use this time to rebuild and start instead of starting at 55. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I just knew it
Right,
was high time.
cut your losses,
Yeah,
and so you can start rebuilding. Yeah.
what happened with me too is I watched my father-in-law, who at the time was like 60. I watched him go into this really deep depression because he did not live the life he felt like he should have lived.
Mm,
And at 60, you realize, oh my God, this ride ain't that long, right? He wanted to be a radio DJ. He's supposed to be a guy with a big beard riding a Harley. That's who he is,
yeah.
right? But he betrayed himself. He was an awesome dad, awesome granddad, awesome doting husband. He took care of everybody else but himself.
Hmm.
And my God, did he just spiral at the time? And I'm like, I'm gonna be him. I don't want to do that. I don't want to be there. I'm going to unplug, I'm going to drain the tub, and I'm going to start all over. This is not a remodel. This is an implosion. Fix the foundation and build it right.
Smart. So di how so that was kind of a slow process then, I suppose.
Oh, it was not fun. Took me a while to find myself. We go through the stages. I teach people that there's 5 stages to get through. Stage 1 is a stage of doubt. We usually go through doubt while we're still in it. Stage 2 is a stage of fear. We fear losing our family. We fear losing our friends. We fear losing our community. We fear losing our belief system. All of that. We know if we make the choice we need to make, we lose all of that, right? That's stage 2. Stage 3 is a stage of anger and resentment, where we're just angry. We're angry because no one listens to us. We know we make sense. No one listens to us. We're angry because we start digging deeper and like we feel like we've been bamboozled. Like, how did I not know all this stuff? My God, they're involved in all this madness. I mean, we get the real truth, and it makes you angry.
Yeah, I felt like
And
I was duped.
yeah, you feel duped, right? And a lot of ex-witnesses stay in stage 3 forever, right? And you got to move on with life. Stage 4 is a stage of exploration, where you wipe the chalkboard clean. You try not to have biases one way or another, and you just go explore. I explored all kinds of stuff. On a spiritual front, I went to Christian churches. I went to Buddhist temples. I just would go as an observer, like, what is this?
Yeah.
I want to know. Not because you told me, because your publications told me. I want to see for myself what this is. And in different areas of life, I just allowed myself to explore, to just see for myself what things are. And that's a beautiful stage. That's when you just let the anger go. Realize what you can control, realize what you can't control, and focus on the things you can control, because you can make yourself crazy about things you can't control. Shunning is one of them. I can't control who shuns me and who doesn't. And then stage 5 is a stage of empowerment, where you truly know who you are. You truly understand your purpose on this planet, and you start to live in alignment with that. And that was something that was never going to happen as a Jehovah Witness.
Mhm. So, what are you doing today?
Well, as far as what far away from what I did do as you can be, for 20 years I owned a sewage pumping company. I owned a fleet of big trucks that pumped septic tanks and septic systems and pumped all the grease and oil from the restaurants and the hotels in Hawaii. That was turned into biodiesel fuel. I also owned the AC duct cleaning business that cleaned the ducting in commercial buildings and hotels. Today, I am an international motivational speaker. So, outside of working with the witnesses, I speak at schools, universities, corporations, corporate events, all kinds of stuff. And that's who I am. I mean, I could never say the word septic system again and I'd be fine. I was doing something, even though it was successful, it's not who I am. I'm not even mechanically inclined like that. It's just my dad did something similar. I just kind of carried it on. I feel absolutely in alignment with who I really am today. So again, starting that personal development while I was still a witness, I just kept going on with that till I got into the personal development field. But while in that field, I felt an obligation to help ex-witnesses. I didn't start off helping ex-witnesses. I felt an obligation to help them because I knew that nobody understood them. And people would go get counseling, and you spend the first 2 months trying to explain witnesses to them.
Yes.
And having experience in the personal development field and having been a witness, I just felt especially equipped to help these people. So about 8 years ago, 2017, I started a Facebook group called the Empowered Minds Facebook group. And now we have, I think, 11,500 members. And the focus in that group is kind of personal development for ex-witnesses. It's not so much dwelling on the witnesses and keeping up with the witnesses. It's like, who do you want to be? How do you get in alignment with yourself? How do we move on from this religion and move past the programming? And that's the focus. I don't spend a lot of time personally dwelling on what the witnesses are doing. I could care less. The opposite of caring about something is indifference. It's apathy. It's not anger.
Mhm.
So they could change their beliefs tomorrow. Whatever. It's That's a part of my path. It doesn't define who I am. I've moved on to other things.
Yeah, the group really focuses on moving forward, and you do a excellent job of helping people. I am part of that Facebook group. It was one of the first things I did when I first woke up. Somebody told me about it that lives in this area where I am in San Diego, and I joined it. And yeah, it's been very, very helpful. It's very different from all the other ex-JW Facebook groups where people just complain and this and that. That it really does focus on moving forward with your life. And
Well,
yeah.
there's a season for that. I mean, I went through it. 100%, I went through it. You're angry, you complain, you're just trying to, you inundate yourself with every bit of information that you can get. Everyone needs to go through that. But at some point, the focus has to be on moving forward. Now, what do I mean by that? Let me give you an analogy. A woman's husband starts taking these business trips, right? And he's acting suspicious. You know, he smells like perfume sometimes. He's got glitter on him sometimes. Something's just off, right? So she hires a private investigator to trail him on these trips. And he comes back and says, "Ma'am, you know, I'm sorry to inform you, but every time he goes on these trips, he goes with a different woman. he's not he's not going to Chicago. He's going to Jamaica." And she goes, "Thank you." So she divorces him. She's got all the proof. Well, should she spend the next 5 years finding all the other women? Because if he found 4 or 5, there's 30 of them.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what he's been doing, right? But is that a good use of her time? No. She will never be ready for another relationship. Nobody will want that woman who's just consumed with her ex-husband's prior activities. And I say it's the same thing with ex-witnesses. Once you have enough proof that they lie, they hide things, they're not honest, they bamboozle their members, and you know this, I don't need any more proof.
That's
You
right.
know, endless. It'll just keep going. Um, it's best to just detach and go, okay, that's where I was when I was there. And I think it's best to not look at it as good nor bad.
Mhm.
For me, when I look at my time in the witnesses, I kind of look at it like high school. It was there when I was there. Like when I was in high school, I cared about high school things. I was in high school. So
Mhm.
I did high school things. I cared about high school things. When I was 20, I could care less about high school. Right. So when I was a witness, when I was in that frame of mind, when I believed it and I was in accordance with it, I keep the good memories. Even though I'm not in touch with those people, when I think of a camping trip or going ice skating and, 50 people showing up, I keep the good memories, just like high school. I'll think of football games and things I went through when I was in high school. I keep the good memories. But I'm not that person who moved across the street from the high school. I'm not the person that's still going to be at the local mall or at the local eatery who's at every high school game still at 50 years old. I'm not that dude. Okay. Um, Good memories and you move on. It's just part of my path.
Yeah,
It doesn't define who I am.
yeah, great. What are some of the things you offer? Because you do a lot of coaching. What
Mhm.
can you tell us about that?
Well, I do a lot of one-on-one coaching with people. The main thing with coaching is for most ex-witnesses, it's not they're not as far away from where they want to be as they think. Their perspective really needs to change. So a lot of people just immediately want to got PTSD, I got all this trauma. Most times it's a perspective shift. When you leave the witnesses, you still see the world through the lens of a witness, whether you know it or not, because the programming on the subconscious level is deep. So we address that. So I do a lot of one-on-one coaching. I have courses. I have something called the JWD Programming Boot Camp. That's a 21 lesson course that goes through all the different things that you face coming out of the religion and gives solutions for it so that you can um, release it
Mhm.
and you can move to your greatest self. What we have to know is that we create our story in our minds. What we allow ourselves to believe becomes our reality. So if we're defined by being a Jehovah Witness years after, our potential gets very limited. I don't even call myself an ex-witness. I might use that for the group so people can find it, but I don't call myself an ex-witness.
Mhm.
It's where I was when I was there. I'm not defined by it. I've outgrown it. So when you're able to look at it this way, like most people, the witnesses are this huge entity, and you got kicked off, right? And then you're fighting this thing. You're so angry at this huge entity that called the witnesses. No, I became big, and it becomes small.
Love it.
It's become very small to me. So I don't get triggered when I see them at their carts. I just look them as lost people. It's like, okay, people in high school selling their cookies, right, for their whatever they need to got to raise money for their cheerleader squad. That's high school stuff. This is small stuff to me. This is people, they're lost, but this is what they believe. I get it.
Mhm.
I don't feel the need to wake up everybody. Everybody gets to go on their own journey in life. What is reality really? Reality is simply what you've accepted as being real.
Mhm.
So if you're living the reality of a witness, that's real to you. Why do I want to wake up my two brothers and my sister who have happy marriages? I'm going to create so much discord if I wake you up that it will ruin your life. You are happy in the reality you live. I don't live that reality. Wouldn't make me happy, make me
Yeah.
crazy. But
Mhm.
the two of you are in accord with each other, so it works. So yay.
Yeah.
But if you crack the door, you see, trying to bust a door open that's dead bolted shut, you're just going to hurt your own shoulder. You're going to damage the door. Let it go. But if the door is cracked, I'll kick that baby wide open if you're looking for that, right? So just knowing that the focus should be on yourself, your journey, getting where you're at, living your own purpose driven life, and then using your past to your benefit,
Mhm.
right? That's all the past is good for. The past is good to teach you. They say yesterday is history, tomorrow is a mystery. That's why today is a gift called the present.
Mm. Love that. I've heard you talk about how you address things when you've run-ins with witnesses and they say, "Oh, are you disfellowshipped?" or use terms like that. Can you tell the audience how you'd handle
Yeah.
that?
Well, I've never been disfellowshipped. But when people ask me that, when I go back to where I'm from and I run into somebody, every now and then somebody will, get this earring in my ear. Obviously, I'm not a witness. Um, they'll look at me and go, "Hey, Rodney, you're not disfellowship, are you?" This happened one time. There's somebody I grew up with who's an elder. He was playing in a band that was playing at a function I was at, and he sees me. He goes, "Rodney, you're not disfellowship, are you?" Because he wanted to talk to me, and I said, "Corey, I don't use those terms." What do you? That's terms for your world. I don't play those games. I wouldn't answer the question. Basically,
Yeah.
I don't play those games. Those are terms for people who live in that world. I don't live in that world. Am I a witness? Obviously, no. But if you want to talk to me, let's talk. Good to see you. Right? And I just will not play their game.
Mhm.
If I see witnesses, I hug them. When you don't play your role, they get very uncomfortable.
That's right.
They expect you to play the role, put your head down. You see them in the grocery market, put your head down, walk down the other aisle, avoid. I don't avoid anybody. You're just like high school. Again, it's just like high school. I might not know these people anymore. It's been 40 years since I was in high school almost, right? But when I see somebody from high school, how you doing? I hug you. I acknowledge, of course. You were part of my journey. I'm not gonna act like I don't know you. And when you do that with witnesses, they don't know how to act because I'm not playing my role. So I would normally say, "Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. Hey, Rodney. Hey, man, when you coming back? The end is near, man. All this crazy stuff's happening, man. Jehovah loves you. Listen, me and you are in two entirely different planets on that part of life. Oh, but that's okay. We don't need to talk about that. How's the kids?
Yeah.
Those are they don't know what to do. Because they always expect, yeah, yeah, I know, yeah, yeah, I'll try to come back. They expect that whole, no, no, we are on two different planets. And sometimes they'll want to go there. And that's when I'll stop and go, no, it's not a good idea for you to go there.
That's great. That is
Right?
great, and that's great advice
I
for
know.
everybody.
Yeah, I said it's not a good idea for you. I understand and I want to honor what you believe. It's not a good idea for you to go there. And I've had people push it. Right? Some witnesses can be very arrogant, especially ones that are elders. They can be very arrogant. And I'll tell him, I know everything you know, and I know everything you don't know. You really don't want to go there. I'll tell you a funny story. One time I was visiting Hawaii, and I usually don't even mess with this, but this is what happened. I was with some folks who were selling stuff to the tourists on the street. I knew a couple of the guys, so we were hanging out, and the witnesses set their cart up right next to where my friends were. And it was an older man. I'm sure he was an elder. He started small talking with me, and I know where he would eventually go. But he's a nice older guy, and eventually he goes, "So, Rodney, you ever think about what's happening with this world?" And he's doing his little segue into it. And his name is Dave. I still remember. I said, "Dave, yeah, I know where you're going. To be honest with you, I used to be a witness." He goes, "Really?" And now he gets excited because he thinks he's bringing the prodigal son back. So he goes, "Really? So why what made you leave?" I go, "Well, I have different thoughts about the subject today." "Well, do you mind if we talk about it?" I said, "No, we don't have to, Dave. You're a nice guy. It won't go well for you." he goes, he goes, "Well, I'm a big boy. We can talk." I go, "No, really, it's not gonna go well." "No, no, I'm game." I said, "Okay, Dave, if we talk, I have some rules." He goes, "What are your rules?" I said, "We talk at least 30 minutes. No cutting it off. You cannot tell me we're going round and round and try to get out of the conversation. You cannot tell me that you're going to do research and come back to me because you'll never come back. You cannot change the subject if you don't like the subject matter." I gave them about 5 rules that are all their outs. Okay. And they don't even know they do this. They're so programmed. They don't know they do this. And as I'm saying this, I'm watching his knees start to shake. You're sitting on the side of the sidewalk. His knees shaking.
Wow.
Then I start talking about their history because you never would talk about doctrine. I started talking about their history. And then he goes, I kept saying God when referring to God.
Mhm.
And he does that laugh, that older elder laugh. Rodney, why don't you use his name? You know who I'm talking about. "Well, God has a name. Why don't you use his name?" Like they talk to you like you've never been a witness.
Yes, yes.
I said, "Dave, you know what I'm talking about?" He goes, "Well, there could be many gods." I said, "Dave, who's the president?" He said, "Barack Obama." Did I say the president of who? What? Well, it was just I had him so tied up in knots, and when he couldn't answer something, then he goes, "Well, then I guess you believe in the Trinity too." I go, "Dave, you're changing the subject. You're trying to take it to a place where you're comfortable, and you're comfortable talking about that. We're not talking about that at all. We're talking about your history, right?" And he got so uncomfortable. Everything I said he'd do, he did. He
Wow.
told me he's got to go research it and come back. I go, "There you go." Then someone calls his phone. We're sitting away from their cart, and one of the ladies, his phone starts ringing. And hello? Then he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry, Rodney. I've got to go." I go, "Dave, she's calling you."
Oh my gosh.
But Dave, you did every single one of the things I knew you'd do
Wow.
because you're programmed. You're not thinking.
Yeah. It's so true. Wow. That is crazy.
You're programmed. Yeah, they're just you know every scripture they're going to turn to. They're programmed.
Mhm.
So I have compassion for that because it's for witnesses, it's their lifeline. They're so disconnected from self that if, and that's why you got to be careful about waking people up, because they don't know how to swim. They've lost the ability to swim for themselves. They got to stay in the shallow end of the pool with the life vest on and everything, with lifeguards watching them.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It's like dumping them in the deep end of the pool or in the ocean. They're not ready for it. So I think it's really best to focus on yourself. Let your light shine. Let people see you thriving. They're watching you.
Mhm.
You know, my father texted me while we were talking. My dad, while we were talking, my dad texted me
Oh, wow.
because, yeah, yeah. Let me tell you this story about my dad. He recently he sees some of the things that I do as far as the places I speak at and the schools and the universities, and he called me out of the blue and said, the last time we spoke, it really bothered me what you said. I said, Dad, you don't see me. You don't see who I am. You don't see what I do. And he took notice and he mentioned, he goes, I want to know what you do.
Wow.
I want to, like, he starting to notice that, you know what? He may not believe what I believe, but he's out there doing something good.
Yeah.
And what a validation. I couldn't thank him enough. My dad's 85 years old.
Wow.
And that means the world to me that my dad, he's a great guy. I don't want to wake him up. He's 85. I'd destroy him.
Mhm.
I've been believing a lie since 1967 or whatever,
Yeah.
No, that meant the world to me that um,
Saw
my
you
dad
and
saw it.
validated you.
So shine your light. Remember, darkness cannot put out light. Light puts out darkness. But when we stay in the vibration, when we stay in anger, the witnesses are a very low frequency, low vibration religion. When we stay in anger, we stay right with them. When we get triggered by them, you see, when we allow ourselves to rise up, this cannot come here. You got to work yourself up here. But this can always come down because you've been here before. So when we get triggered, we come down to their frequency and we dance with them. But if you remain in your power, things cater to you. Human beings are no different than animals. You got a dog there. Doesn't your dog know bad people?
Yes.
Doesn't your dog know when somebody's nervous or scared? Or dogs pick up on energy. So do people. We just don't realize it. So when I stay in my power, none of this matters. My sister had a 40th anniversary a little over a year ago in Lompoc, California. And when I was 19, 20, I lived with my sister. And they invited me. So I went up. I knew everybody there, all witnesses. I knew everybody there. My whole family was there. I had a good old time
That's great.
because I don't alter my energy to them. They will cater to your energy if you hold it. So I don't act like I don't belong.
Mhm.
I don't wonder like, oh, it's gonna be this gonna I just bring me and I just act the way I'm gonna act, and human beings will always accommodate the stronger energy.
Love it. Now, do your kids talk to you?
My daughter does. My son does not. I've not talked to my son in 3 years. I have a granddaughter I never met. Um,
Mm.
so that's
Yeah,
painful.
that's painful.
But I have to look at that as that's his journey. I cannot slow up my life because I'm angry about something or disappointed by something. I got stuff to do. That's his journey. That will be his biggest regret one day.
Yes.
One day when he sees who his dad actually was and what his dad actually did. You see, my son has the belief. My son found out that I work with ex-witnesses. So in a witness's mind, anybody who does that is a anti-witness, is an apostate, is a, you hate Jehovah, all that. They got their own narrative.
Mhm.
Anybody that knows what I do is I don't even really talk bad about the witnesses. I just help people move forward. Just keep moving, keep being the best you. And one day when my son really understands what I do, that I don't do anything different for the ex-witnesses than I do for the rest of the world when I talk at a corporation, a high school, university. I'm all about helping people become the best versions of themselves. And when he finds that out, he will feel like an idiot.
Yes.
Okay. And that will be his lesson. And the way I try to look at it is he'll teach that lesson to someone else. I tell myself the story, and again, it's about the stories you tell themselves. And sometimes it's just the setups for something greater. Maybe my son wakes up and we're doing one of my conferences. We do conferences all over the country. For those of you watching, several times a year, we do a 2-day conference in different cities. Maybe one day I'm telling the story, me and my son, and he comes up to the stage, and it's a tearful moment where everybody's like, "Oh my God!" and it gives everybody hope that this can happen. I hold things like that out in my mind. I always feel that some of life's most major disappointments are setups for something greater, but only if you stay in your frequency. If I stay down here and I'm just filled with anger and I don't let it go, then that's not going to happen.
Right.
But if I keep shining my light, now here's the thing: when you shine light, I've had 2 relatives find me on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, I do want to talk about that too. I'm going to put that up for people, and I'll put all the links to also in the description below of this video. But yeah, talk about that.
You never know what's going to happen. I had one cousin who was really up there, part-time circuit overseer,
Wow.
golden child of my family as far as witnesses. We were doing a conference in Newark, New Jersey. And on my YouTube channel, I call myself Coach Rod. I used to not ever really say my name. But in this video, I said my name. And on LinkedIn, I get a message request from my cousin. And it always makes me uncomfortable because not everybody knows I'm not a witness anymore. I'm like, I don't respond to this. I mean, I've not seen him since 1991, this particular cousin. So I respond back. And he says, I've been watching your Coach Rod videos for years on YouTube. I did not know Coach Rod was
Oh
you.
my gosh.
Last time he saw me, I had a high top, whatever the fashion was in 1991. I was 23 years old. But this one video for my conference, I said my name. And he goes, "Oh my God, that's my cousin." He says he's been sending my videos to people for years.
Wow.
You gotta watch this guy. You gotta watch this guy. And he had woken up. He's Pimo, right?
Okay. Physically and
Uh,
mentally physically
yeah,
and mentally out. So
he's got his reasons why, some family things, but he is out, meant out. Wow, blew my mind. He came to my conference.
wow.
And then there was another time, another cousin of mine messaged me on Facebook. And again, I'm like, oh God, he doesn't know I'm not a witness anymore. And that's my youngest cousin. So he was like 8 years old last time I saw him. And he goes, I just saw one of your videos on YouTube. And I was like, I think that's my cousin. And he was probably 23, 24 at the time. And absolutely, he said my video helped wake
Oh
him up.
my gosh.
This made so much sense to him, right? So you never know, right? So now I live without any kind of smoke screens. I'm very authentic. You Google my name. That's how my son found out, because you Google my name, this stuff comes up. I used to try to really keep it separate. You can't. I've done too much stuff in that space. But I'm very authentic. And possibly if my son will wake up one day. He will. He's just too smart.
Yeah.
He will. Um, yeah, go ahead and creep on one of my videos, son. Matter of time, but you can't get stuck in life and let years go by because you're wanting something to change that can't. And I know you have a similar thing going on,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
we gotta keep living. We gotta keep living. You can't hold up.
That's right. I do hold out hope for my kids as well. They're smart. They'll figure it out. And
And
when
they need
they
to see you
do, I'll
thrive.
be here waiting for them.
They need to see you thriving, right? So who knows? Maybe I do something that, some motivational video that has nothing to do with the witnesses that goes viral. Could be that, could be, hey, check this out, check this out. The coolest thing is when stuffs like this happen. One
Okay.
second. So the last place I was a witness was Maui, right?
Mhm.
So the last time we went back to Maui, I was hired to speak at a bunch of schools in Maui, high schools.
Wow.
So as I'm leaving Maui and I look at the newspaper stand,
Oh, wow.
that's me. Both those pictures are
Oh
me.
my gosh.
I'm speaking high schools there, motivational speakers. I'm on the entire cover of the newspaper.
Wow.
Stuff like that. When you go back home and you go, yeah, Rodney Allgood's doing all right.
Yeah.
No, but you never have those things happen when you're angry.
That's right.
You got to keep moving. You got to keep moving. Get in your purpose. Just a part of your journey. Life comes with disappointments. Listen, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% what you do about it.
Mhm.
Don't flip that around. Life comes with its challenges. Life on planet Earth is challenging by design. It's supposed to be like this. As witnesses, we're told it's so. No, it's supposed to be challenging. That's how it is here. Everything's challenged. A deer's challenge, just eating grass, not bothering nobody's business. Here comes a lion. It's challenging.
Yeah.
We acted like that was all wrong. Like in paradise, they're all just going to eat grass. No, the lions aren't giving those teeth for no reason. They're supposed to eat that. That keeps the ecology the way it is. Life on planet Earth is challenging. But when you get through the challenge, a better version of you exists on the other side. So you've got to be able to go from being a caterpillar to going through that uncomfortable stage to becoming a butterfly. Once you become a butterfly, you don't care about caterpillar things.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Well, you're helping a lot of people. One thing I enjoy so much, I watch every video, is the videos you make on Sundays. Can you tell the audience about that?
Power hour, yeah. So we, in our group, we do something called the Empower Hour every Sunday, where I speak for half an hour, and then for half an hour, I have a panel of people that come up, and we discuss a subject matter. Yesterday we discussed self-love, the importance of self-love. We'll take different things that ex-witnesses struggle with, and we'll address it. So it's on my YouTube channel, so I always post it on YouTube after, but always trying to figure out the most effective way, or the things that are really the pillars of what holds people up in life. And yesterday we covered self-love. Self-love is huge.
Yeah.
You got to love yourself. Most people, their problems have to do with their lack of self-love. That is the base of the tree. If you cut the base of the tree, the rest falls down. Don't think too little of yourself. Don't keep telling yourself that something's wrong with you. See what's right about you. Understand what's right about you. Understand your powers, your gifts, your the things that you were given. Everyone has a gift. Understand that everyone has greatness ready to sprout from within them. And if you believe that, you will live an entirely different existence. I'm going to share a poem with you. At 46 years old, I found I was a poet. I believe that when you get in alignment with who you are, things just start flowing into you in whatever way you're gifted. And I wake up with poems. I just have them hit me. I don't try to write poems. I basically dictate. I feel like I'm channeling them. Here's one for
Okay.
you. It's called The Gift. It goes like this. There's a gift that dwells inside of you, bestowed by the universe. Your purpose lives within your heart, for it was given to you at birth. Your worth is not in question, but it's doubt that won't let you see the greatness that resides inside of you. It's your belief that sets it free. This gift is not for you. Your gift is for us all. So consider it as selfishness if you don't heed your call. This life that we are blessed to live is not merely to exist. It's time to change your point of view, to take time to ponder this. Now imagine yourself old and it's your life that's in review. Will you be filled with regret of the things you did not do? Or will you have an empty feeling as you sit and stare, knowing that you will leave this earth with a gift you failed to share? So live to leave a legacy, and always remember this, that you are one of a kind, and that you were born to shine, and your purpose is your gift.
Oh my God. I love it. What a great poem. Thank you for sharing that. That is so
Yeah,
uplifting. Yeah.
everyone has a gift, and when you're a witness, you're cut off from self. You're told how to spend your time, your energy, your money, everything. And you take that energy and you're pointing it, 8 million people pointing it in the direction of an organization. You make that organization powerful with your energy. Your energy is yours to share in the uniqueness of you. Your energy is for you to emanate, to add value to the lives of others, to be in the fullness of who you are. And that is everyone's obligation on this planet, to live in the fullness of who you are, not to be what people tell you to be. Who are you?
That's right.
You want to hear the first poem I wrote?
Sure.
I was This is how I knew. I didn't know I was a poet. This is how I knew is I was gonna journal. I was going through all this stuff and anger with with the witnesses, and I was gonna journal. I needed to get my feelings out. So I grabbed a pen and paper. 5 minutes later, this is what I wrote. Never wrote a poem in my life.
Wow.
Raised in beliefs that were never mine, a detachment from my true self showed over time. A lie I lived for so very long, never understanding my truth about what's right and wrong. Like a chameleon, I would change my colors at will, so the people I love would love me back still. But is it true love if it's taken away? Because something called truth is not seen the same way? You see, we all have the power to use our own minds and seek understanding that we all wish to find. This journey is mine, it belongs to no other, no brother, no sister, no father or mother. See, I was created unique and like no one else, but my talents and gifts were then put on the shelf. But now it's time to break free from these chains and shatter the bondage that's inside of my brain. Now I'm finally am free, I could soar to the sky, for I was created in the image of the one who's most high.
Wow.
5 minutes just came out.
Wow. That's really good.
And that's why I believe in what I believe in, because when you're in the flow, as a motivational speaker, I speak for an hour at a time, and I've never written a speech in my life. I don't write speeches, I just show up.
Wow. You do have a gift
That
for that.
comes,
That's for sure. I've heard some of your speeches and they're magnificent. They're so inspiring and yeah, it just
never
flows
on
out of you.
paper. And I think everyone has something like that. Some people it's music, some people it's cooking. Some people like, how do you know that needed some paprika in it? Like they just know their tongue's magical, right? Some people are magical to paintbrush. Some people are magical designers and create architecture and buildings. We are supposed to live within what we're given. And it's okay to say, you know what, I'm gifted at this. I'm good at this because the gift was given to you. It's not about you, so you can own it. It's not about you, it's given to you. So always remember that conceit and confidence are not the same thing. It's okay to dwell in the gifts you're given. And if you don't know what it is, go find it. You might be the person that all your friends come to and want to share their problems with or looking for advice. That's a gift. You might not feel like it is, but it is.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a good place to maybe land the plane. Anything else you
Mhm.
want to add?
Yeah, keep moving forward. Don't just dwell on things you can't change. Look at what you can address in your life. And then use the past to teach you things. Use the past to learn from. Don't use the past to stew over. Be present. Be in the now. And trust that things that you think won't change, many of them will change in time, in its own due time, not in your time. Your obligation is to do what you can do to live your best life right now.
Love it. Love it. So, everybody, I encourage you to go watch his videos on YouTube and join the Facebook group, which I'll put that up one more time. Facebook group Empowered Ex-Jehovah's Witnesses, aka the Empowered Minds Worldwide. How many is in that group now?
11,500, I think.
Wow. That's so fantastic. Oh my gosh. That's so great. You're helping so many people. That's why I wanted to have you on, because you're just so inspiring. So thank you very much.
Well, thank you for having me. And thank you for watching, everybody. Go out there and live your best life.
I'm changing my life and I won't look back ever again.